So I guess that just happened.
What happened? The Eagles win or
Yeah.
lose?
Well, they won, but I guess there's no such thing as a bad win. But fuck, that was not encouraging.
Yeah,
Um,
the Lions. You and I talked about it. Look, we did our preview. We didn't go into depth about the games too much, like we did last season. But look, it's the Lions. This should have been a blowout. Um, the first week of the season aside, it still should have been a blowout. This should have been a 2 or 3 touchdown difference, and it wasn't. Field goal, 38-35.
mhm.
Yeah, just not good. I mean, look, it's a win. You said it. I think you posted it to Facebook. Wins a win, um, and I agree. But yeah, 38-35 against a team that has done nothing for the last 10, 12 years since
Right.
since basically Megatron days.
Yeah. And not that there weren't bright spots. There were definitely. I mean, hell, in AJ Brown, 155 yards, fucking outstanding game. Um, but I'm not encouraged by the running game aside from Jalen Hurts running for his life. I wasn't impressed with the offensive line. It's supposed to be the best, one of the best in football. Wasn't impressed. Um, Devontae Smith targeted 4 times, no catches, including a drop that he absolutely should have had. Um, the defense was sloppy with their tackling. There were too many um, mental errors for penalties, 2 delay games. One of them shouldn't have been, but it got called. So you know what? You shouldn't have put yourself in that situation. Be aware of what's going on the field. Situational awareness. Yes, they should have reset the clock after the penalty, but you can't count on that. Too many
Right.
men in the huddle penalties. Stupid, stupid, stupid mental mistakes. Stuff that should not be happening to an NFL team in the first week of the regular season.
Yeah.
Um, you could tell that the conditioning wasn't there. Um, I mean, how much of that is on the coaching staff and everything? I mean, it is on the coaching staff and everything because they didn't get their team ready during training camp, and it's nice to go into the season without injuries, but they got to be ready to play, or else it's worthless. Um, it sounds like I'm being overly harsh on them, but I was not happy with a lot of what I saw. But again, it's hard to be super pissed off with a win.
Right.
So
No, I agree. Now, I was going to ask you though, did you watch the Green Bay Minnesota game or any
I
of it?
didn't.
Okay.
I had it on and I saw that it was a blowout, and I was like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna turn on. I ended up putting on the Red Zone or whatever the NFL Live channel is.
Right. So I watched that one. I didn't get a chance to dive in too much to, I guess, the Eagles game itself because it wasn't broadcast here. So I just kind of followed along highlights as best I could there because I was watching the sloppiness of the Bears Niners game. That was fun.
Ugh.
But the Packers Vikings game is the one I'd like to just touch on for a minute because that leads into next week for the Eagles. Look, Aaron Rodgers looked like he was all out of sorts because he had no one to throw to. They have no weapons, and so the Vikings really exposed that. The first play out the gates was a deep pass that if Devontae Adams was still there, it would have been 7 points or 6 points. And guess what? Drop ball. So not Devontae Adams, Devontae Adams.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I get getting confused because we just said Devontae Smith and whatever. But I don't know. The Vikings exposed that. Defense looked good. But at the same point, yeah, Kirk Cousins, we talked about him before, still very capable, still very good quarterback. But even though the Eagles may not have been, as you were talking about, up to obviously up to snuff, and Devontae Smith's not getting the necessary into the game, if you will. But of course, AJ Brown is a bright spot. I think it's gonna be a lot closer than the Vikings aren't going to blow us out. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, they beat a weak Packers team. They really did. There's just Rodgers had nobody to work with. And I think Aaron Jones is starting to show some wear now because he's been in the league for several years now. The offense just didn't have anything going, and I think the final score was like 23-7. So I I can see it being a close game, low scoring, more defensive minded. If the Vikings do win, it'll be by a touchdown or field goal. It will not be any more than that. If the Eagles win, it'll be by field goal or touchdown. I just don't know which way, and I think you and I talked about that a little earlier.
Right. And that's the thing. Honestly, like going today's game against the Lions aside, I didn't. It's not that I think that the Eagles are a worse team than the Vikings. I don't think they are. Any other week, I would say no, that they'll take care of the Vikings. It's just the combination of the fact that there's going to be a game in the first 5 that they lose. It's going to happen.
Yeah. We talked about it.
And,
they're not running the 72 Dolphins season.
right. And if there's going to be a game that sets up for a letdown, it's going to be week 2, Monday Night Football, home opener against a Vikings team that can take advantage of a team that maybe is, I don't want to say on the ropes because they're not on the ropes at all, but they could take care of a team that comes out a little bit flat in the beginning, and then they can't dig themselves out of the hole.
Right. No. So it'll be fun. And so when this episode gets posted, it'll be just prior to the Monday night game. Eagles and the Vikings, again, that's my call. If we really dig into that deeply, it'll be separated by, no more than 7 points one way or the other. The Eagles fan in me obviously wants them to win. But, knowing what happened today in both games, I don't know. It should be interesting. And I think this is where you really see where the team stands. And if by some chance they do lose by 2-3 touchdowns, then we've got problems. So,
right. And based on how the running game or the rushing defense got smoked today by DeAndre Swift, that running back tandem they have up there with Dalvin Cook and I can't remember the other guy's name, but that's going to be a tough.
Cook, Dalvin's he's a tough runner. And I honestly watched the game and I can't remember the other guy's name either, but they still have other great weapons too. Justin Jefferson's absolutely smoked.
Oh yeah,
absolutely smoked the secondary today. And then you still have Thielen out there. He's nasty. I don't particularly envy their task at hand. The Vikings have plenty of offensive weapons. I just think in my mind that the defense more or less exposed what the Packers didn't have, which is why there were so many scores in between. Like I said, it was 23-7, I believe it was, but why it wasn't it was more of a blowout. Like the game to me felt like it was 50-0. That's how it felt. And it should have been probably. But it was I think that was more the case. And so that's why I honestly think it'll be closer with the Eagles. Just don't know. So
yeah. All right. So let's it's Sunday right now as we record, right?
Yep.
Unless I'm missing, unless I fell asleep and somehow woke up in a time warp. That was probably one of the worst segues that we've ever done. And I apologize. That's my fault. That's my fault. So what restaurant is famously closed on Sundays?
Let's see. Hobby Lobby? Oh, they don't serve food.
So before we hopped on, I went to Yahoo just to see what was going on, and because I do that every once in a while, I'll pop on Yahoo and just look and see if there's any, see if there's been any earthquakes or anything or any disturbances in the tropics that I need to be aware of down here in Florida. And I saw a story that kind of it piqued my interest. I'm not gonna lie, because I needed to see how badly this company fucked up. So Chick-fil-A sent out a tweet that didn't go over too well. It was kind of as the headline puts it, poor choice of words. Tom, I sent this to you before we went on so that you could get an idea of what I was talking about before it just kind of struck you as Like what the
Yeah,
company really.
yeah. I was reading through the article, and yeah, the only thing I could reference at the time, and I don't mean this to be in a disparaging manner. It was just more of what it made me think of was a scene in Clerks 2. um,
Yeah. So basically, here's what happened. And if this isn't grounds for why we need to just get rid of Twitter altogether and social media for that matter, um, I don't know what is. So Twitter, so someone tweeted at Chick-fil-A at their corporate Twitter account, grilled spicy deluxe, but still no spicy nuggets at Chick-fil-A. And so the tweeter in question happened to be a person of color, and Chick-fil-A chose to respond and said back to this said person, your community will be the first to know if spicy items are added to the permanent menu, Don.
yeah.
And so, maybe it's not a great look for a company to be saying your community when talking about fried chicken and the person that is in question is a person of color. Um, maybe that's bad, just bad wording, bad phrasing, and it of course it generated some responses such as, "What do you mean by your community?"
and
And I'm
and
going to
that
need an explanation for that comment. Our community wouldn't want to think that there are some racial undertones behind that.
Yeah, and that was the thing that the scene that reminded me from Clerks 2. There's the Wanda Sykes scene, and I won't get into all that one, but that's what that reminds me of. And
Yeah,
yeah, and look, you're right. There's a I've always tried to do this, whether it's on here, um, in life in general, with anybody, and I've done it for years. Is just always be careful with what you say and how you say it. Um, and it has nothing to do with trying to you know uh, tiptoe around or whatever. It's being respectful.
right,
That's it. It's not that hard.
right.
I don't know. I think sometimes um, things are said maybe not meant um, the way that it came out, and then it just blows up into whatever. So
Yeah, I mean, and for their response, today the Today Show reached out, and the response from corporate was the response was a poor choice of words, but was not intended in any way to be insensitive or disrespectful. We often use the term community in a broader sense to talk about places where we operate restaurants and serve the surrounding community. So, I mean, honestly, I don't think that it was meant in a racially motivated way. I
no.
really, really, truly do not believe that they meant that. Do I still find it funny as hell? Yes. Yes, I do. It's fucking funny. But not it's funny in the kind of like, I can't believe they just fucking said that sense. Not like
Exactly.
I'm never gonna be a fan of someone just being outright racist. Let's face it. Like, that's just fucking stupid. There's no place for that in this fucking world. There's already enough hatred and disgustingness in this fucking world for a company of all fucking things to just be outright racist. There's no need for it. There's no place for it. Sometimes unintentional phrases are fucking funny.
But all right. We got a couple other things we're going to dive into though.
Yes.
And one, the other thing you sent me, and again, you're going to have to kind of spearhead this thing because I just heard of the word about 10 minutes ago or 15
Would
minutes
you
ago.
say spearhead or siren
There you
head?
go.
Whoa. No,
So
that was fucking terrible. I'll show myself out.
no, but the cool thing is, we've talked about cryptids on here many times now. We've done a couple of cryptid centric episodes, and so here's a new one. And yeah, you can fill us all in because you told me a little bit about it. You sent me this link. I'm kind of been combing through it. I'm also been halfway looking at our notes here for what we're going to talk about here for kind of the main portion of our show. But What do you have on Siren Head?
All right, so Siren Head. Now, most of the cryptids and stuff that we talk about are like creatures that, if you believe in them, have been around for years and years and years and years and whatever. So it's stuff that, you know, there's a basis for, there's a history for, there's, you know, all kinds of folklore and sightings, and it's been in newspapers even, and like reputable news sources, and there's been movies about them and all kinds of stuff. But they've all, for the most part, they all started at the early, either before the turn of the century or prior. And by the turn of the century, I'm not talking about the 20th into the 21st. I'm talking about the 19th into the 20th. And some of it, again, folklore based, that kind of stuff. This one is one that's not based on anything other than the creator's imagination. It's an internet phenomenon, if you will. It's called Siren Head. It's a giant, uh, like humanoid creature. It's got two sirens for a head, as if the name wasn't fucking obvious enough. It makes like static. It sounds like clips of different recordings. It makes all kinds of weird noises, but it's all like electrical type noises. And the creator said it was kind of inspired by number stations. Which, are you familiar with number stations at all, Tom?
Well, I see you say number stations, and I immediately think of my religious upbringing. So probably completely different.
Yes, completely. So, have you ever heard of the radio stations where they're just like old radio stations that no one uses, and they just broadcast random numbers and words and stuff, and they think they were set up there in World War II as like spy messages?
I, you say that, and it sounds familiar, but I really have no frame of reference other than just maybe something I read one time. That's, you know what I mean? Like, I really don't know. I'm pretty unfamiliar with it.
So that's kind of where that's part of the impetus for his creation. And so the guy just made up these stories, put them online, and people have taken to him, and they've kind of, so Siren Head is similar to Slender Man in that they're both just made up internet creatures that people have taken to and started putting in games and started putting in picture, like digitally altered pictures, and making up stories about them and just inserting them. Like there's a mod for Fallout 4 for the PC where they never even mention that he's in it, and then it's something about static, and then you go out into the wilderness, and if you go out to a certain place, he's just wandering the wasteland in this certain area. So he's just kind of taking on a life of his own. And I had heard of him, but I had no idea what he was or what it was. And I saw a clip on YouTube. It's about this. It's this video or this online show that PBS does, and they talk about all different cryptids and stuff. It's called Monstrous.
Hmm.
And that was the episode that I watched, and it's made me want to watch more. So I will be digging in on that, and that may be in a future episode. But they discussed the, where it came from and the history and everything, and it was really cool. And I just wanted to get your opinion on like that kind of cryptid. What do you think when you like when I tell you that there's cryptids out there that are made up that are strictly on the internet that people are like, oh yeah, we know this doesn't exist, but we're still going to follow it like it is a cryptid, which who knows if the other cryptids are real. There's
Right. I think it's fine because it's folklore, right? The folklore stuff, whether some things may be real or not, obviously, we can be very sensible about this and realize that 99.9% of anything we talk about here in the relation to this stuff is made up and passed down from generations. And it's just kind of grown a life of its own, right? I mean, I think that's something we can certainly agree on. So I think it's fine. I think it's 21st century folklore is all that is to me. I don't think that there's a problem with it. And I think it's certainly something that we can talk about. But here's the thing, I think it's kind of cool in the sense that it does kind of give you the new generation of mythology type too stuff. And these things can kind of get a life of their own. So maybe 100 years from now, people can be talking about this, kind of like how we talk about, the Jersey Devil or whatever. As much as I really, really wish it was really there, look.
Hey, are you trying to tell me the Jersey Devil isn't real?
See, I was hoping you were going there.
Are you trying to fucking tell me the Jersey Devil isn't real? Because listen, I'm telling you, my grandfather's brother's best friend's cousin's aunt's uncle said that she ran into him in the Pine Barrens.
Man,
She may have been drunk and high at the time, but that's fucking neither here nor there.
On this Siren Head thing, though, this is the part that I have to. I love this, and I think this is great. There's aliens for this thing. This is great. So Siren Head, either one word or two words, which is cool. But this is the parts that I love. Also known as the patron saint of going missing.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
I didn't read. See, now I didn't read this site. I sent it. I just I found a site that kind of like explained who he was and just sent it. So I had no idea that any of this.
This is fantastic. Yeah. Also known as Lamp Head.
Okay.
Without
Creeping
a trace.
Dread.
Without a trace of creeping. Or of creeping dread. Without a trace of creeping dread of bad things coming, and enemies from the void. But my favorite is the patron saint of going missing. So I kind of think I'd want to just start calling it that. But
no, it's the patron saint of going missing without a trace.
Oh, going missing without a trace. Oh, okay. Well, I just like going missing. That's what I'm gonna use. See, it's all made up.
Yeah. It's all made up. You can say whatever you want.
I just made up my own. I'm just gonna put a comma right there.
So, and I like so I'm looking down, and powers and skills, haunting skills, camouflage, audiokinesis, which is the ability to play sounds loud enough to cause brain damage and or explode or rupture eardrums and soft tissue. Tremendous strength, high speed, stealth. How the fuck is this thing going to be stealthy? It's as tall as a fucking telephone pole. It's incorporeal, electric interference, photographic memory. How can it have photographic memory it can't see? It doesn't have eyes. Shape-shifting, aura, status infliction, surface scaling, perception manipulation, adaptation, dimensional travel, and this is in parentheses, possibly. And then stalking. It has a hobby, which is stalking its victims and then killing them. So, yeah, that's so that is that's good old Siren Head, or the patron saint of going missing.
Yeah, that's right. Not the other words that followed it that I completely didn't. So I thought there was a comma there.
Nah,
but based on this thing's powers and skills, I mean, you slap this thing into the MCU. Ooh,
yeah,
we got some problems. I think Thanos has a match made here. I mean,
that's why Thanos snapped his fingers, because he was trying to get rid of all of the fucking Siren Heads.
Yep. I mean, the dimensional travel thing, if it works.
Yep.
All right. So we have
wait, one more question, because we talked about this one last time. So which one is more intriguing to you, Siren Head or Asquatch?
I'm gonna have to go with Siren Head.
Yeah,
and only for the sheer fact that, like, it's I don't know, like, I guess because I was just able to make up something about it. That's why it's more intriguing to me.
Okay. I mean, you could make up something about Asquatch.
I couldn't. I guess that's the whole point of this, right? We can make up. Yeah.
Maybe that should be a new website, is askmeaboutasquatch.com.
Ooh, I like that. I'm sure it's not available. I'm sure. Yeah, I almost said I'm sure it's not available.
I'm thinking because I'm trying to decide if we need to do betterthanmoses.com or ask me about asksquatch.com.
I don't know. The Better Than Moses one is good, but I think the Asquatch thing, man, can go. That has more of a life to it. The other Better Than Moses can probably be forgotten about in a little while. As much as I hate to say it,
Yeah,
cryptids don't go away though.
that's true.
What
if MJF is a cryptid?
That's possible.
He could be.
Maybe he's the guy that wrote that book. He just wrote it under a pseudonym.
That's what it is. He's the Chupacabra guy. What if the Chupacabra? Never mind.
we're just going down different doors and our different paths now, aren't we?
I'll talk about that one off the air. So anyway, let's discuss real quick.
Yeah, we're gonna kind of get back into kind of weird. This is weird. We're gonna talk about a real thing, not cryptids, and something not goofy either. This is one of the rare times that we're gonna have a real conversation, and man, I don't know. This was cool. This was really interesting because you and I were sent this as a text message about the Colorado Power Company locking out thermostats. And I know that you would seen it immediately. It's basically because they signed up for it. And but that's not exactly what, I mean, that's kind of the precipice to what we're talking about, but you really framed a really good question off that though. It's like, what would we be willing to give up, if anything, in order to save a few bucks? And the thing is with that is that these customers that had got their thermostats locked out, they signed up for it and said, hey, we're going to control it, but the power company will knock your bill down. It said $125 a month, which is crazy.
No. It was $125 over a year.
Oh, it was a year. Oh, I thought it was a month because I was like, man, that's my whole bill. Right. I'm not quite. Mine's higher than that, but I was like, that's a lot. So $125 a year.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's such a minuscule amount. It's a drop in the bucket. I mean, unless I don't know, maybe in Colorado their electric bills are super cheap, but I know down here, and especially now, our electric bills just doubled and in some places tripled and quadrupled over because I don't know exactly why, but they're saying that basically that's what it costs on the east coast of Florida. So now the electric company's saying, well, if that's how much it costs over there, that's how much it's going to cost over here.
Right. They're
just essentially what it boils down to.
Yeah, and then we can go back and forth on why they do stuff like that, but here's my thing: if that's all that is, $125 a year, right?
Yeah.
Off of something that, let's say you were paying $200 a month, and then now you're up to $400 a month. I hate to say this, and I know people are in different places financially, but it really comparatively is kind of a drop in the bucket. Would you prefer to have that freedom, or do you really want to save that? Now, again, this thermostat thing aside, that's not really the thing. We're not really talking about that, but what would you really be willing to give up just to save something?
No, honestly, it's not worth it to me. No matter whether we're talking about thermostat, whether we're talking about, to save $125 a year, there's nothing, literally nothing would make me willing to give up if I want to have my AC at 60 degrees and pay out the ass for it, that's my decision.
Right.
And that shouldn't be taken from me. If I sign up for some kind of program, all bets are off.
Right. Exactly. 100%.
For $125 to not be able to have because what they did is they took their thermostats and I think they put them up to 78 or something like that.
Yeah, which is a bit high in the summertime. And it does get hot out there. I will say that. I know that. We were just out there a couple months ago. It gets hot.
Right.
It gets to the 90s. So it's very possible it was during that time.
It was because they said that the reason that they enacted that was because it was a hot weather advisory or something like that, or some kind of heat advisory, and everybody was cranking their AC, and so they were trying to take some stress off of the grid. And so that's the whole impetus for why they did it. So
So my thing on that whole thing though is that you had pointed it out when we initially were talking about it, is that that's what these people signed up for. And look, you know, that's it. You're exactly right. If that's what you signed up for, I'm sorry, but granted, there probably should be a way to, I don't know how long it takes to get out of it. If it's a contract thing, I have no idea. But the point is, it's like, if you did sign up for that, you're going to get angry about it. Then, maybe take a look in the mirror. This really reminded me of something though, and I don't know if we've talked about this at all ever, but do you remember several years ago here that there was some really massive flooding that was kind of like really historic in my area? Not quite what happened in Eastern Kentucky with the flash flooding, but just like general flooding. Do you remember talking about that?
yeah.
So this was back in 2011, and it was, really, really bad. It just kept getting higher and higher and higher, the rivers around here. Well, one of the things that they uh, set in place was at basically the end of the Ohio, where it dumps into the Mississippi. There's a bunch of levees out there in Missouri, and there was signed agreements with different farmers and stuff, with the Army Corps of Engineers, saying that if this land's good, it's not flooded, whatever, you can farm it, whatever. But if there's a problem, we're going to blow these levees, and your land's going to get flooded. Okay. So these agreements were in place, and I believe the agreements had been in place since like the late 1930s. Well, in 2011, it came time to do that. They had to, because it was just getting out of hand. You had a potential of like an entire city going underwater, so they had to blow the levee to drain the water out.
Mm-hmm.
And it came up to the point where when they did that, and I hate to say this, but like the people that were farming got upset about that because they lost their land. They lost whatever was going on there. There was no crops really at the time. If anything had happened, it had just been planted because of the time of year. But I know it was like 80 years prior, but that was the agreement. Like, if we have to, it's going to flood your land, and this. That really reminded me of the thermostat thing.
Yeah. Obviously, a little, a little more far-reaching consequences, but essentially the same, in that it's a situation where look, you're aware of what this is. You moved in here, and granted, and I'm assuming, and you can never really be 100% sure, but most of the time farmland is passed down through the family.
Right. It's generational, correct.
Right. So the it should be known that, hey, if this situation occurs, this is a potential consequence. So you're prepared ahead of time.
Right. So speaking of consequences and stuff, this was really interesting, and this is something that you had added here. Kind of in the same thing, talking about use of power and all that. But you would put a thing on our run sheet here about California switch to electric cars, and do you want to kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so California is leading the charge. They've got legislation in place now that you can't sell any new electric cars or any new ICE based cars after 2035.
You mean they run on ice? I can just
They
be
run on
dumping.
ice.
I can
Yes.
just be dumping ice into my gas tank.
You know what you should do is anyone who has a Supra, especially, Supras, Honda Civics, Honda CRXs, if any of those are still driving around, you put ice in the gas tank and it makes them run so much better.
I knew it. I knew it.
If you have one of those cars that backfires when it drives down the street, put a bunch of ice cubes in the gas tank. You get even more pops.
I knew it. That it increases horsepower, right? What's
Yes, it increases horsepower.
1 horsepower per ice cube?
At 1 horsepower per ice cube, and then multiply it by however tall the wing is on the back of your car. If you have a giant wing on the back of your car, you multiply every ice cube times 5 for every inch that wing is up in the air. Yeah, that's how that works.
Cool.
But no, so
all serious, folks. We gotta.
Yeah, if we were all serious, we would just die. Yeah. But yeah, so any internal combustion engine vehicles can't sell them brand new after 2035. However, number one, and this is a conversation. This debate could go on so many different ways, and so for so long, and without getting into all the political ramifications and everything.
And we're not. We're completely approaching this just by using common sense.
You look. So, all right, we all want electric car technology to progress. We all want electric car technology to get to the point where it makes sense, because none of us wants to burn, or none of us wants to live on a burning hellhole rock. But let's make it make sense, okay? The companies, I get that they need to sell these vehicles and they need to sell them in mass in order to make production costs go down and to make research and development cheaper, to make advancements come quicker. I understand that. That's how it all works. When the first car came out and everybody was like, oh, we're going to switch over to these automated motor coaches instead of horse-drawn carriages. And people were like, oh, nobody can afford that. And it was only the rich people that had it. And then when color TV came out, well, okay, let's go with normal TV. When normal TV came out, only the rich people had normal TVs. When color TV came out, only the rich people had color TVs. Okay. Now, for a while, it's been typically rich people having electric cars, and they were kind of like the guinea pigs. And then, they started making some that were somewhat affordable for the regular folk among us. And we started, people started buying them. And that's all well and good. The problem we're reaching now is the government mandating that we have to switch over to electric cars before they've become widely affordable for the general public. Because I know that could I go out and buy a $40,000 Tesla or a $40,000 Karma or a Fisker? Yes. Yeah, I could get approved for that and buy that vehicle and then pay out the nose for an electric vehicle that I couldn't take on a road trip. But it's much more affordable for me to drive the car that I have now. And it's much more affordable for me to fix the car that I have now.
Right.
And if I should choose to fix the car on my own, to go to the auto parts store and buy parts and fix whatever's wrong with it and service whatever's wrong with it and do the maintenance and everything by myself, that is something that I can do. And I've purchased this vehicle. I can fix it myself. Try and fix an electric vehicle. Try and do it. There's been a story, Tom. I don't know if I'm sure you've seen this story. The lady who had the Chevy Volt and needed to get the battery replaced. The car's worth $10,000. They want $30,000 to replace the battery.
I did see that. Yeah,
and that happened That happened right here in Cape Coral.
Oh, did it really? I saw it making the rounds on social media. My thing is, it really reminds. And as you were talking about, it reminded me of this. I'm working in technology. It's funny. You can take the current, internal combustion engine cars and compare it to a desktop computer with very easy components to mess with. You can pull the video card, you can add RAM, you can swap out your storage, you can, whatever, you can put an optical drive in, all these things that we've done the same way for years and years and years and years and years and years with those things. But the minute it becomes smaller, becomes different, goes to a laptop or particularly now, or tablet, an iPad, if you will, or phone, becomes a lot harder to work on. Mainly because of size. The components are different. There's a lot different things entailed. You may not be able to. Apple has been notorious for that, comparative to other machines. So I know that in my time in IT, I had a lot easier time early on working on machines because, it's funny to say this, but I could stick both of my hands in them. I can work on them. And these other things that have come out and really, started peppering things, all the Chromebooks that I've dealt with, we work on them, but we're swapping what we can, screen, maybe a battery, but maybe we're in a place where we can't upgrade the RAM. It's soldered in a specific way. There's no extra slot that if we take it out, it renders the machine useless. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting with trying to work on your own electric car.
Right. And then not only can you not work on it based on, how the components are put in there and everything, it voids the warranty.
Exactly. That's the that's the insane thing. It's like
right.
And it did that with regular cars too, right? I don't know. I'm sure I know you and I have done our fair share of buying vehicles over the years already. Because let's face it, we're not young anymore, so we actually have these experiences to pull from. But when you are approached with that ability to buy the warranty, buy the whatever it comes with, hey, even if it's for 3 months or it's for 6 years or 7 years, whatever it is, they always tell you like, oh, well, if you do XYZ, yep, sorry, we can't help you. It's crazy. I don't know. I was following in the kind of the power grid thing out there. Were you kind of really just checking it out, seeing what the heck was going on?
So I kind of got off on a little tangent there about the vehicle itself, but that's
so
what
I was trying to bring us back into
that's what I was leading us to is I feel like we're kind of putting the cart before the horse, especially when California then, after they sign this legislation, a couple days later signs or tells everybody, hey, listen, try not to charge your vehicles because we we need to limit it to certain days and certain hours, because it was so hot and they were so worried about the demand on energy as people cranked up their air conditioning during a heat wave. So all I'm saying is maybe if our electrical grid, whether it's state based, whether it's you're part of the national grid, if the grid can't sustain the vehicles and all of the people who live in the area, maybe we can't switch to electric just yet. Maybe we can't be putting into place all this stuff. Show me the infrastructure, the what we're doing to fix the infrastructure and to get it prepared for all of these new electric vehicles and the population on top of it. Show me that first. Once that's been completed, then we can talk about switching over to all electric. Until then, for somebody like me, my biggest concern is always I want to be able to hop in my car. I have limited vacation time. If I want to hop in my car and drive up to Kentucky or drive up to Jersey, I don't want to have to spend extra hours on my trip waiting for my car to charge when I can drive up to a Wawa, fill up my tank in, go in, go to the bathroom, get a pretzel, get a drink, fill up my tank, and get back on the road in 5 minutes versus sitting there for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, however long to charge up my battery.
Right.
And then also to have Look, honestly, here's the thing too. How much do you trust those companies? And not to be a conspiracy theory guy, but I don't know. I'm sure you saw it during Hurricane Irma that was down in Florida, the last major hurricane we had. Tesla put out an alert saying, hey, any Tesla drivers that are in the path of this hurricane, we've increased your battery or your mileage, your battery capacity, so that you can get out of harm's way. And we're going to leave it increased for such and such an amount of time. So you're telling me that you can artificially limit how far I can drive my car? Why was that not extended? Why is that not extended as far as it can be when I buy the car? That's bullshit.
Yeah. Are you familiar with do you remember the old Ford F-150 Lightning trucks?
Yeah.
Okay, so they were cool, right? As the
Yeah.
back in the day. Well, that's their electric truck, and we camp a lot. We have a travel trailer, so I tow that with my truck, and I've been following some articles and reading some things about the electric ones and the Lightning, and hooking it up to like different size trailers and see how far it could go. And I'm sorry, but it was a joke.
Yeah.
It's like, for the size trailer that I have, and if I had one of those trucks, which cost $90,000 or whatever it is anyway, it's high. It's ridiculous. It would go like 120 miles. It's stupid. Like,
We have a small trailer.
it really is. We do. Our trailer is not very big. I mean, the dry weight's less than 2 tons. It's crazy. So I agree 100%. Like, if we want to see this, obviously we all do. I want to. I've had it, after my truck was paid off. I've said this for years. But pretty much since I bought it, like, my next vehicle is going to be a Tesla. Like, I knew that. But at the same point, like, if we're running into these things where it's like, hey, we can do this and we can do that, and then we're going to tell you not to do that, I don't know.
Right.
Not cool at all.
Right. And that's my thing. It's just, if you're gonna force us to do this stuff, and so it should be clear that it's not outlawing internal combustion engine vehicles after 2035. You'll still be able to buy used vehicles. You'll still be able to buy, keep whatever you have. It's just going to become less and less that there's going to be gas stations, I would assume. Now that I could see not really tapering off for another 10 years after the quote unquote ban starts. But, you know, make the technology work for us before you start trying to force us into it. Number one. Number two, like I said, make the infrastructure work before you try to force us to switch, because there's no need. If we can't run our households and charge our cars, then why are we switching?
Right.
What the fuck is the point?
Right. No, it's
burning fossil fuels making the electricity too.
And here's the crazy thing. And we talked about California kind of leading this, and there was an interesting thing too that I believe it was by 2035 as well. And again, I could be wrong on the year, and my apologies if I'm incorrect here, but it also banned the sale of small engines, and the new small engines, I should say.
Right.
Let's be clear there. And I saw plenty of pictures of this and different people doing it during this whole, planned outages and whatever they were doing, where their electric vehicles were hooked up to generators, which just cracked me up.
Yeah.
It's, but that's the thing though. It's like, man, I can't buy a generator. Well, here's the crazy thing. So where we live here, many years ago, we had a really rough ice storm, and there were people that did not have power for a month. I'm not
Damn.
saying, your power was gone for a day. That was a month or more because of some of the devastation and damages. Well, guess what they ran on? They ran on generators if they could get them. And it was the dead middle of winter. So you're telling me that I can't buy a generator
Right.
at a certain point? So I'm just going to freeze to death? Like,
Well, and
you
let's
know,
go a little bit more in the day-to-day life too. That is to include lawnmowers.
exactly. And have you seen, I'm sorry, like I know we're kind of really dogging some of this stuff here. I have an electric weed eater. I love it. I say electric, it's battery powered. Love it. It's Cobalt. We're not sponsored by them. I love it. But have you seen like the battery powered or electric, if you will, lawnmowers?
My neighbor has one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might as well just get scissors out. And have
Yeah,
some
dude.
fun.
Look, I thought about getting one because I figured it'd be easier to work on. I could, switch out the blades and everything, not have to worry about oil leaking and all that shit. But at the same time, like, is it worth it? They're expensive. They don't seem to work all that well. I just can't until they improve. I'm not going to spend money on it. Just like with the electric cars, until they make it worth it for me.
I'll tell you a story on what I thought was funny. So, like a weed eater is nothing, right? It doesn't do
Right.
much. It just so that to me, as long as you don't have you're not trying to go through like a bunch of brush, it'll do the job. I've used battery powered weed eaters for a long time. I can say that. But I saw and again, this I don't mean to knock it, but a Craftsman battery powered lawnmower, and the batteries that you stick in your drill.
Yeah.
It took 2 of those, and I just laughed because I was like, "How is that even?" Like, I just don't understand, like how that's even giving it enough juice
Yeah.
to do anything. Like,
Dude, I can't.
I just don't get it.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't get it. I can't see it working. I really like, let's say you've got an acre or an acre and a half or 2 acres. Now, granted, you're probably, if you've got that much land, you're gonna have a riding mower. But when we were growing up and we had an acre, I had a push mower and I was expected to cut the lawn with a fucking push mower. And it was gas powered. So my ass was out there lugging this gas powered mower across an acre. You can't cut a fucking acre with a battery power. You could cut a quarter of an acre with a battery power. Then you can let your batteries recharge. And then, like, however many hours later, unless you bought 18 fucking battery packs, and then you can get your acre done. I don't know, man. I look, you and I both love technological advances.
Hmm.
And anything that's gonna help mitigate any kind of climate issues, whatever, I'm all for it if it makes sense. But it has to make sense.
Right. Yeah. Right. And it's funny too. Like, and I don't mean to not make light of that part of it, but I think we've all grown so accustomed to just having these things very I don't know, like luxuries, if you will, comparatively, right, to how it used to be, everything done by hand and having to start the fire to keep warm and certain things. So like I certainly get the point of like, hey, yeah, maybe we do need to clean things up, right? But at the same point, you also need to have it to where we all can do that.
Right.
I mean, that's it.
Because if it's just the richest among us that can do it, it's not going to make a difference.
No, and
It's
all
not
you're
gonna
gonna do is just make
spread.
people. All you do is make people mad.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, if I'm not, to, hey, I spent a long day, just want to hop in and make it my 72 degrees, and I can't pop it down under 78 and not because I even said so. I don't
Right.
know.
So, and let's look real quick because I did have a couple other notes in here. Because it's not just Colorado, it's not just California. So in Texas, there was a heat wave in July, and Tesla told its customers the same thing: avoid charging your cars at peak times.
Mhm.
And not, not that we should be surprised at all, but in China, um, an MIT technology review reported that during a heat wave in China, they had the same issues. They were turning off, they were telling you, look, don't charge your electric cars. Be careful with your electrical use. Um, it's not relegated to just us. It's not relegated to just the United States. It's all across the world. It's not just Colorado, or it's not just California. It's Texas. It's not just Texas. It's going to be everybody.
Right.
We're all going to have to worry about that shit, because even if you're not worrying about heat waves, most places up north, I mean, most of them run off of oil-based heat.
Right.
At least where we grew up. I know. Did you guys have an oil?
No, well, initially we our heat was a kind of half and half. So it was half electric and then half wood fire, and then we switched from wood to gas, propane. So that's what it was, but it was a half and half because we had baseboards. So
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So when the apartment that I lived in before I moved down here had baseboard heat, so it was electric, but we had, but that was an older technology at that point. Most of the places that up there, and maybe they've switched some to more electric, but it's propane and it's oil, and they're going to be switching that stuff out and going electric in the future. So then you're going to have, like you guys had the issue with people not being able to heat their homes because the electricity, when the electrical grid got screwed up, and you're not allowed to run generators, and get the fuck out of here, man. I've got to keep myself warm. I've got to keep my family warm. So you know what? I'm going to do whatever I need to do. If that means that I've got to buy a generator and I'm going to be running it and, I don't know, hiding it when I have to, then that's what I'm going to do.
right, and like it's funny. At the end of the day, there's certain things. I guess we all kind of we can go back to the caveman mentality. It's like, you know what? You can't stop me from starting a fire.
Yeah.
So, I mean, seriously, I mean, what else, blows come to blows, and I'm hurting, I'm going to do what I can,
Right.
but the crazy thing is, you're right. You're exactly right. This is not just in one spot. We pull California as the example because it's recent. But yes, it did happen in Texas, and it's happened around the world. And I think we all need to be aware that it's going to be, in your backyard fairly soon. The thing is crazy to me is that I don't know, and I have to find this, and I'll if I find it, I'll send it to you. But I've seen it floating around, and that again, I have to like trying to figure out the validity of it. But it shows like the energy production for the United States, and what the energy sources are, and between like wind, solar, and nuclear, and all that stuff, and the fossils, whatnot, and it's crazy, like that, with the nuclear stuff, like how much that produces as far as like megawatts, and like the hydroelectric that is there for us now, like we talk about that, is basically maxed out because we've found all of our good spots to use already. So like we really need to ramp up the grid if we're gonna go this way, because right now it's man, for what's being used as far as clean, if you will, solar and wind, comparatively is not a whole lot. It's
Right.
not good.
Right. And that's the other thing, man. We need to two things that really need to be put into place before we start this conversion to all electric and all that. Number one, we need to get off of this thing where you have to be plugged into the grid. Because in Florida, at least in our city, if you completely disconnect your house from the electrical grid, there's been people that have done that here. They've completely disconnected their house from the electrical grid. They've got everything running off of solar, and they have been fined, and their houses have been red tagged, which means they can't live in them
Right.
because of that. Where they're saying no, the state is stepping in and saying, hey, no, you need to be on the electrical grid. And if you're not, you can't live in your house. which is ridiculous. We need, if the more people we can take off of the electrical grid and the less stress that's on it, the better. Solar, if you can get that on your house and get it taken care of and everything, why are you not allowed to do that?
Right.
Because what it's going to come down to too is not only, like, again, in the situation where you guys were in, where the grid went down, people were without power. If they have solar, if they have their own solar, they can rely on that. One of the pluses to the electric vehicles, and obviously, it hinges on you having it charged at the time that everything goes down, is some of them will let you power your house if you have the right setup. If the power goes out, you can power your house from your electric vehicle. And I think it was the Ford Lightning was one of them that does that.
Yes.
Well,
there
the others.
that one does it, and then well, it wasn't just the Lightning. It was actually one of the ice cars, the ice Ford vehicles too, because it was
Really?
it was generator, right? So
Get out. Okay.
yeah, that's what a lot of people did in Texas. They actually had to hook up in the back, so they were able to hook it up to their house.
Nice.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
So we need to get as much solar on individual houses as possible. We need to stop this bullshit where they say, no, you have to be hooked up to the grid. That's bullshit. Fuck that. They need to get rid of that. And then they need to increase the vehicles being able to, like I said, they need to increase not only the range, but the range and the capacity for the vehicles. They need to decrease the price, and they need to stop this bullshit where they're putting artificial limits on this stuff. Let's
Right.
get all that stuff in place, and then let's get the grid built up to where it needs to be to handle everything. You get that shit done, you make shit affordable, you make it so you have a choice. Like, honestly, if I wanted to get a car at the same around the same payment what I'm paying right now for my car. Right now I've got a nice, it's not a base model, but it's the SXT Plus, so it's not the base model, but it's not, a super high-end Challenger. It's got some nice features in it. It's got leather, it's got all kinds of bells and whistles, right? If I wanted to get something comparable to that in an electric vehicle,
Mm-hmm.
there's no way I'm making the same payments that I'm making on
Oh, no, not at all. I recall a story, and this goes back a long time. I remember somebody buying a high-end Mercedes, whatever. This was 20 plus years ago, and then talking about their payment, and it was $1,700 a month then.
Fuck.
And I just thought, man, that's insane, right? But then hearing the price of the car, and it was high-end Mercedes then, right? And I come to find out that it was a $90,000 Mercedes. Well, I mentioned earlier about a $90,000 Lightning pickup truck. What do you think the payment is on that,
dude?
That's more than my mortgage.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And that's why that's the thing. You got to figure the people that are buying those aren't financing them. People that can afford to buy that vehicle are buying it outright.
Right.
And so that further sets up the divide. Like, no, man, electric cars are not for the people who it would make a difference if they were driving them. Electric cars are for the rich people that don't actually really have to, don't have to drive that much. So why the fuck are they buying them anyway?
Exactly. But I don't know. I think we got into a good conversation here on this, and we were serious for the first time in 101 episodes.
Yeah,
I think we were serious. I think we were serious before on a couple of other ones, but that's so long.
I was serious on the very first one.
Yeah, we did do the tornado one.
And we did the tornado.
Yeah, that was
one.
a straight up. But that was half an hour that we did. I think that was it though.
That's weird. We talked about getting dispatchers classified as first responders,
which I'm pretty sure is what's still the most popular episode of.
It's up there. It's one of the most popular ones. So who knows? Maybe because we were talking about serious shit, we'll get more listeners.
It's possible.
And we didn't have Richie, so we didn't have any like.
No, we're not having to chop it up.
Yeah.
No, this is cool. This was good. Now we love you, Rich. This was good though. We need to do stuff like this a little more often sometimes because we do goof around a lot on here. And I think that's what we're known for, obviously, which is it's
Well,
fun. Don't get me wrong.
we know us for that. I don't know if anyone else does.
The whole world does. We're up to like 6.5 million subscribers on YouTube. I think there's 3.2 million Twitter followers. Come on.
Yeah, you're right. I'm
20,
just on here being
28.
humble.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I'm just on here being humble. We've got, for the millions and millions of our listeners.
For the ones and ones.
Yeah, for the ones and ones. Make sure you the ones and zeros. Make sure you check us out on what was the new one we were signing up for?
Oh crap.
Is it ask me about askwatch.com?
I do like that one. Yeah, let's do that one.
Ask me about askwatch.com, noisebrigadepod.com. Harley Quinn Smith ate my balls. Oh, we forgot. Speaking of Harley Quinn Smith.
Oh yeah, we need to close up with something fun. You sent us a thing, and Richie didn't respond. I didn't either, but I was kind of happy about that.
Yeah, so the reviews on Clerks 3 are in, and they're fucking good. They're saying that this is the best movie that Kevin Smith has made since Clerks.
That's saying a lot.
It is, because Clerks was obviously a critical darling. Everybody loves it. But Chasing Amy was really well received, and is one of my favorite movies that he's done.
I'm personally a big fan of Clerks too.
Oh, me too.
And Danielle is as well. Clerks is great. Don't get me wrong. But there's so many other good movies up between, Mallrats. Kind of get into that. The Chasing Amy is fantastic. There's duds in there too. We won't have to talk about Jersey Girl.
But so 2 quick asides on that. You've seen Captain Marvel, right?
Yes, excellent.
How
movie.
Cool was it that the Stan Lee cameo in that was him reading the script to Mallrats?
Yes, that was fantastic. Fantastic.
I love that so much, and that was the last cameo he did while he was alive.
Yeah, that's actually probably one. After really thinking about it and stewing on it, that was one of my more favorite Marvel movies. I just really liked how it was done. Enjoyed it.
Yeah,
another story for another day.
Yeah, we'll have to discuss that. But what was the other point? I don't remember. But Clerks 3 though has gotten awesome reviews. I'm going to see it on Tuesday. I'll have to give you guys a rundown of how that is.
We're gonna have to do an episode of that, and I can't wait to hear Richie just kill you on it.
Yeah,
because I know he will.
Do that one. We'll have to record that one probably Friday, because I have to work Wednesday and Thursday. But and I think that it'll probably let out. Well, I don't know. We might be able to squeeze in a show Tuesday night after I get done.
Okay.
After the movie, we'll have to record then. But anyway, that's not what you guys want to hear. You guys want to hear how fucking awesome this movie is going to be. It should be really good. I'm looking forward to it. If you're not familiar with Clerks 3, what it's about, because you haven't seen the trailer or anything, basically it's Randall has a heart attack. They're working at the Quick Stop. Randall has a heart attack and decides that he hasn't done anything up until now, and he wants to make a movie of his life. So it's basically Randall filling the Kevin Smith role and filming the first Clerks. So it all comes back around.
Full circle. I like it.
Yes. So it should be really good. There's a lot of people that were in the old, how he does. He always brings his people back. So we'll see. Rosario Dawson's going to be in it. Obviously, Dante and Randall earned it. Elias is back, and Elias is fucking comedy gold. So, we'll see how everything plays out, and I will have a report for you when we come back.
I like it.
But that leads me back to Harley Quinn Smith AteMyBalls.com. DoYouLikeBears.com. AlwaysBeChupacabra.com. ChupacabraForDicks.com. HarambePox.com. DoubleWideCoffin.com. And last but not least, BigBeefyShootyBoys.com. Till next time, Dallas sucks.